You passed the first raid challenge in Lost Ark and are about to tackle Argos in his second phase. A word of caution, if you don't have the required 1385 item level, he will hit you very hard and your attacks have a chance to be blocked too. So unless you have very powerful friends, it's highly advised to take your loot from phase 1 and exit the dungeon if you are below the required level. This fight has a unique feature, your raid will be split in two. Party 1 will always have the sun mark you're familiar with from phase 1 and party 2 will always have the moon mark. You'll have different bosses to fight besides Argos and will need to prepare for each one differently. Knowing that, here's what you need to bring to win this fight. As always, make sure you have healing potions. You'll need higher quality ones if you have no support in your party. Argos has a lot of random damage going about the place. If you're in party 1, you will need to have destruction bombs or you will be severely hurting your party's chance of winning. Stagger makes party 2's job infinitely easier, so whirlwind bombs are highly recommended. In addition to being prepared with consumables, placing high damage classes with great destruction like Scrappers and Ignite Sorcerers in Party 1, and classes with great stagger like Gun Lancers and Destroyers in Party 2 can help you perform the mechanics far more efficiently. So Phase 2 is more mechanically complex than Phase 1, and if your team doesn't know what to do and communicate correctly, then your whole party can wipe. That's why we're here, so we're going to start by explaining the flow of the fight and then go into details about each of these individual mechanics. Overall, the fight is split into 4 stages. The start of the fight is the shortest stage where both parties fight Argos until a specific damage threshold is reached. Then party 1 is teleported to fight the sun boss whilst the moon boss deals with Argos. The reverse happens after the sun boss is defeated. Party 1 stays to fight Argos while party 2 fights the moon boss. Then for the final fight, the parties combine again to finish off Argos relatively quickly. This video will focus on the unique mechanics that you must learn as Argos' moves are the same as Phase 1, and you should be familiar with them by now. Yes, there is a pizza. And no, there's not pineapple on it. So let's start off with the sun boss. After Argos jumps to the center and raises his head to the sky, party 1 will teleport to a new platform where they're going to fight some kind of dinosaur allied creature, but let's stick to calling him the sun boss. Their goal is to deal enough damage to stagger the boss, upon which a weak point will be revealed, the tail or the horn. This is similar to the Scorpion Guardian raid if you remember that one. Once the weak point is revealed, make sure to throw your destruction bombs and use those destruction abilities. If you cannot kill the boss after 3 staggers, the boss no longer has weak points and he's going to enrage and deal a ton more damage. If you miss a weak point break during a stagger, then he'll also enrage too. Again, that's why destruction bombs are key for party 1. The faster you kill this boss, the fewer wipe mechanics you actually have to deal with. So the best strategy for P2 Argos is to put the high damage players in party 1 to kill the boss before the mechanic starts. One final note for those fighting this boss though is to watch out for green stuff on the floor, it can stun you, otherwise it's a fairly straightforward fight. Whilst party 1 is racing to kill the boss, party 2 will be fighting Argos as usual, but there is a twist. After a minute or so, Argos will turn towards the sky and emit a laser. At this point, one player from party 1 should go to the edge of the arena to see which mechanic is occurring and to call out the safe spot for everyone else. There is a good chance you may never see some of these mechanics, but you should know them all just in case. For this one, the moon party should move in the direction of this arrow to survive. Sun party is safe during this one. In the second mechanic, the safe spot for the sun party is in the center of the arena. The moon party is safe during this. In another mechanic, Argos will spawn 8 moon spheres. To survive, each player shall take only 2. If someone does take the third sphere, it will cause high damage to them. If one sphere goes out of the map, it's going to wipe the moon party. So try and keep Argos in the center of the arena to have some space to acquire those spheres. The sun party is safe during this. In the fourth mechanic, 4 dots will spawn in the 4 corners of the arena at Argos himself. Each person in the moon party should step into one circle when it changes from sun to moon to start taking stacks of the buff. When you reach 10 stacks, you want to attack and transfer those to Argos to survive. In this mechanic, the safe spot for the moon party is on the edge of the arena when the center explodes. The sun party is again safe during this. And in this final mechanic, the safe spot for the moon party is in the center of the arena when the edges will explode. The sun party is again safe during this one. Now let's move on to the moon boss. Shortly after party 1 is returned to the central platform, Argos will jump to the center and repeat the cycle, sending party 2 away to fight the moon boss. Party 1's only mission here is to kill the 4 yellow towers that appear on their minimap once the fight has progressed a bit. If they don't do this, the moon party will have a slow debuff. But there's no cross-party wipe mechanics like before. Meanwhile, the moon boss is split into 3 sub-fights. The moon boss, the first minion and the second minion. Deal enough damage to the moon boss and then at 60% and 30% it will teleport to the center of the arena and spawn a minion. This minion has a 90% damage reduction buff that can only be removed if you drain their stagger bar. Use your whirlwind grenades and stagger skills on the minion. Once the bar is drained, the minion will break and you will do your normal damage. After killing the minion, the moon boss will then reappear in a neutralized state. This is another window to deal heavy damage and use your awakening skills. Solfis, we know you're waiting for this one. There is only one mechanic to watch out for whilst fighting this boss. 4 circles will appear on the floor and a cylinder-shaped mark will appear on each player's head, followed by a few rocks falling on top of them. Players need to get into a safe spot and wait for the rocks to fall on their heads, but no damage will be taken during this phase. If the rocks landed successfully in circles, then the mechanic is passed. If a player fails to do this, their safe spot will explode, causing a big AoE damage to everybody around. After killing that moon boss, Party 2 moves to the centre of the blue circle that will appear to teleport back to Argos and finish off the phase. It should be quick, and the hard part is now over. Time to get ready for phase 3.